Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Friday, May 28th. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. $15 million in cash prizes sounds enticing, but will cash incentives actually convince people to get in line for a vaccine? KPBS reporter Alexandra Rangel has more from locals who received their first dose of the vaccine just today.
On top of millions of dollars in cash prizes, the next 2 million people to get vaccinated will each receive a $50 gift card, and it's an incentive that's already encouraging people to get the shot.
And we enter you into that $1 million lottery.
Vax for the win. It's the state's latest attempt to reach herd immunity. 15-year-old Nicole Detal believes it will give some people the push they need.
I feel like it's a good way to get more people to just encourage more people to get vaccinated.
Her parents told her about the cash up for grabs. Although winning big sounds exciting, she thinks it's highly unlikely she'll take the jackpot home.
I don't know, it's like a bonus, I guess, but that shouldn't be the only reason you're getting vaccinated, honestly.
Detal's reason is her elderly grandparents, who she wants to protect. She was one of the dozens of people who got vaccinated at a clinic at the MTS Transit Center on Friday. The county helped operate the free vaccine clinic in efforts to bring vaccines to transit riders. Most people we came across at the vaccine site were happy to know they could win money, but others who learned about the news weren't too convinced. On Amir, a behavioral scientist and marketing expert at UC San Diego, says incentives can bring promising results, but says it's all about how it's presented to the public.
It really matters how they're framed. If this is framed as a, raffle, piñata at the end of the party, stuff like that, it might have a more limited effect.
He says those who have reservations about the vaccine may need a more emotionally compelling approach.
I would hope that the state, reads the literature, talks to experts, and frames this in a way that truly motivates people.
The state estimates 12 million eligible Californians have not been vaccinated yet. Alexandra Rangel, KPBS News.
And if you want to set up a vaccination appointment for yourself or for an eligible family member, you can find a location close to you by going to our website, kpbs.org, and then clicking on the vaccines link that's right up there on our homepage. Now flush with cash, state and local governments in California are trying to get help as quickly as possible to people who need help paying their bills during the pandemic. KPBS reporter Max Rivlin-Nadler tells us about an event happening this evening in City Heights designed to connect people with the financial aid that they need.
For much of the pandemic, local programs helping people pay their rent or utility bills were not enough to keep up with demand. Within days of opening, rental assistance programs ran out of money as the pandemic dragged on. That's not the case anymore, as both federal aid and a booming state budget surplus has begun filtering down to local governments. Now, what's needed is outreach to get to those communities that haven't been able to get to the front of what was once a desperate line. On Friday night, the Partnership for a Better San Diego, a coalition of local labor groups, along with SDG&E and the City of San Diego, will hold an outdoor event in City Heights, meant to connect residents with these aid programs.
Right now, the rent funds and utility assistance relief is available, and people may not know it, but it's there. And I think the challenges of people knowing how to apply, and we're here to bridge that gap.
Sandra Williams says one of the main barriers between the community and aid is technology.
We're there to help them create an email, upload documents they need. A lot of the, feedback I've received just from the community is that they don't have a scanner to upload or they don't have a camera phone. So we're here to do that for them.
The event is running from 5 to 7:30 tonight at 4265 Fairmont Avenue in City Heights. Translation services will be available for several languages, as the coalition is trying to cast as large a net as possible for neighborhoods still struggling through the pandemic. Already at least 300 people are expected to show up. The coalition behind the event is already planning for future outreach efforts in other hard-hit parts of San Diego. Max Rivlin-Nadler, KPBS News.
There are 3 separate rental assistance programs for residents of the city of San Diego, Chula Vista, and San Diego County. You can find information on eligibility requirements and how to apply online. The U.S. is now fast-tracking the immigration cases of families arriving at the border. It comes as the Biden administration has eased some asylum restrictions that led to many families' immediate deportation. Starting today, families stopped at the border could be placed in expedited immigration court dockets in 10 cities, and that includes here in San Diego. The goal is for judges to decide their cases within 300 days of the first hearing. Another extension has been placed on land border restrictions, and this time until June 21st. Local officials have not given a date as to when those restrictions might be lifted. San Diego Mayor Todd Gloria says he has been asking officials in Washington to lift the restrictions because of the negative impact the closure has placed on border businesses.
We do not have the clarity that we want. We don't even have a date for potential reopening, and that lack of certainty is as harmful as the closure itself.
The San Ysidro Chamber of Commerce says 197 area businesses have permanently closed due to the pandemic-related closures. Elected officials today weighed in on a new long-term transportation plan for San Diego County. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen says it's a big change from the status quo and is already creating political squabbles.
More frequent trolleys, faster buses, 200 miles of new high-speed commuter trains. These are just a few of the highlights from the draft Regional Transportation Plan proposed by the San Diego Association of Governments, or SANDAG. The agency says this is what it will take for the county to meet tough state requirements to lower greenhouse gas emissions.
We're reimagining the future of transportation system. We're allowing San Diegans to dream. But the only way they're going to achieve these dreams, if you as leaders make it possible for them.
The mass transit expansion would only work if cities change their zoning laws and permit the kind of dense housing that lets more people live within walking distance of a bus or rail station.
Increasingly, as we look at the responsibilities for our housing goals, it's often asked, where's the infrastructure? Well, this plan describes where some of the infrastructure will come from. And I'm pleased that the infrastructure that is proposed is multimodal in nature, actually giving San Diegans real choices that they don't currently enjoy, but must enjoy, certainly by the year 2050, if we're going to protect our famous quality of life.
Political disputes over the plan were on full display Friday. In contrast to previous plans, the new one doesn't call for freeway widenings. It would, however, create more carpool and toll lanes that get more expensive during rush hour. SANDAG's more conservative board members have already said they're not on board with that idea.
I feel that there needed to be more, more benefit to North County in and around the 78 corridor, and most importantly, the I-5 corridor, not just for the vehicles that we drive, but also for transit, or not transit, I mean goods movement. So at this moment in time, if I was to vote on this, I would not be able to support it.
You can see the plan in detail at sdforward.com. After a public review period, SANDAG board members are expected to vote on the transportation plan by December. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
Memorial Day marks the unofficial start of summer, and it's the first major holiday since some mask mandates have been lifted and 40% of the country is fully vaccinated. Nadia Romero explains why the Biden administration wants Americans to remember that the pandemic is not over.
Oh man, it feels great.
Minneapolis traveler Ricardo Walters says he's fully vaccinated and making his first trip since the pandemic began.
No concerns at all. I had some friends that traveled a couple of weeks ago, and they say, hey, Rick, it's okay to get out and go, and I sure jumped on it.
It's what AAA is calling revenge travel.
People were able to save a lot of money because they weren't traveling to work last year, and so they're going to places, they're staying longer and doing more things and spending more money.
While the pandemic isn't over, the numbers in the U.S. look promising, with half of American adults fully vaccinated. President Joe Biden traveling to Virginia to tout progress against COVID-19. Nationwide, CDC data shows 10 states reached the Biden administration's goal of vaccinating at least 70% of adults with at least one dose.
So many joys of life, large and small, have been halted by a long, dark winter. And today, we've gone from 184 cases per day nationwide to fewer than 22,000 cases per day. Deaths have dropped by over 85%.
The president preaching cautious optimism as many states lift mask mandates and some restaurants and beaches back to full capacity, with Americans eager to enjoy a normal holiday weekend.
But let me be clear, we're not done yet. We have to reach those who are not vaccinated and make it as easy as possible for them to get protected.
In Washington, Nadia Romero, KPBS News.
San Diego is one of the top destinations for California residents over the holiday weekend. The Automobile Club of Southern California says Zion and Bryce Canyon National Parks in Utah, Las Vegas, the Grand Canyon, and Yosemite are other travel hotspots. Part of the iconic OB Pier reopened today for the first time since January. KPBS reporter Melissa May says it's just in time for the 3-day weekend.
OB Pier has been deemed safe for the public after city engineers and maintenance crews have repaired the damaged railings and service lines to the cafe.
It means everything. This is OB, the pier.
Retired appliance repairman and fisherman Stephen Clay is excited to get back to his favorite fishing spot.
I've been fishing here at least 20 years, and it really pains me when it's closed. It takes so long to open, but it's open today, and I'm really happy to be here.
Clay's neighbor and fellow fisherman Anthony Benavente loves the pier.
Favorite part of being at the pier is seeing new people, having new experiences, mostly new stuff basically.
While many enjoy fishing on the pier, others enjoy eating on it.
Just in time for summer, the OB Pier is now open for visitors. Sort of. The end of the pier is still closed to the public, but people can now enjoy the Walking on Water Cafe, and that's good news for everyone.
I mean, the pier is part of the family. It's part of who I am. I enjoy coming out here. I never get tired of this.
Since 1993, Chuck Fisher and his family have owned the Walking on Water Cafe.
You know, it took away, a part of me not being able to come out here. So it's just special.
Fisher knows the residents of OB love the pier, but visitors do too.
The phone's just ringing nonstop all week. We're coming into town. Are you guys open yet?
The city of San Diego is working on a long-term solution for the pier.
It's never looked better cosmetically, and I know structurally there's still some issues.
The cafe expects to serve at least 2,000 people a day during the holiday weekend.
But as long as they open those gates, we'll be here to serve the public.
The Walking on Water Cafe is open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. daily, and the pier is open 24 hours, but will close during very high tides. Melissa May, KPBS News.
The summer is shaping up to be almost a typical San Diego summer. The Del Mar Thoroughbred Club says it's going to open for full capacity for its summer races. Spectators will have to buy a seating package in advance, which will include admission tickets and parking passes. Those will go on sale on June 18th, with pre-sale on June 17th if you sign up at their website. The 82nd Del Mar racing season begins in July and will run through Labor Day.
There you have a pretty typical pattern for us for this time of year over the next few days. Great heading into the holiday weekend. The marine layer, it's going to be out there, much as we find. May gray giving way to afternoon sunshine, and then, of course, those temperatures staying very much the same. And since it's a dry season, we don't really expect much rain and won't see any changes to that in the forecast. Tonight, we're at 61 in San Diego. Still the marine layer coming in and having an influence. Notice Borrego Springs in the upper 60s, Mount Laguna upper 50s for you. As we work our way through time, It's not a surprise, just mostly our coastal locations, maybe a few inland locations getting a little bit of that influence of marine layer, but we really miss out on most of the higher cloud cover. I think that stays off to our north as a weak trough comes through, and it'll only bring a few clouds to some locations of the southwest. Otherwise, our seasonable temperatures continue. More of our usual late spring, early summer warmth, if you will, as we start off the holiday weekend. And again, we'll be dealing with that marine layer towards the coast, which gives way to sunshine. 67 for the high in San Diego, right up to 69 in Oceanside. Chula Vista making it to 66, while Mount Laguna hits the upper 60s. Campo coming in closer to the mid 70s. By Sunday, the story starts to warm up for some of our interior locations, and that'll be a gradual warming trend right through Memorial Day itself, while the coast manages to keep more of that cool marine layer comfort, if you will. That's why our numbers don't really change much. Upper 60s, lower 70s. We're right close to that 70-degree mark as we head through the holiday weekend, maybe inching a little bit warmer towards next Wednesday. Inland locations more like the mid 70s, trying to make it towards the upper 70s for Monday, but by Tuesday we should be close to the lower 80s, so inching a little warmer then. The mountains back into the 60s through a lot of the weekend. Pretty comfortable here with just a few passing clouds. We'll be in the mid 70s though for Wednesday. And for the desert, we do look like we'll be close to that triple-digit mark for a lot of the holiday weekend. For KPBS News, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Melissa Constanzer.
Some Scripps Health patients say they can once again access their health records online following a ransomware attack that was first discovered 4 weeks ago. A statement posted to the Scripps website says systems are being restored, but there is still more work to be done. The cyber attack has resulted in some patients' appointments, their blood work, and other procedures being rescheduled or outsourced. Some cancer patients are still being treated at UC San Diego Health and Sharp hospitals for now. More than half of the U.S. population is now fully vaccinated against the coronavirus with a vaccine that was developed in record time. KPBS's Taryn Mento explains the delicate process used to keep the vaccine safe and effective.
Before this COVID-19 vaccine gets injected into your arm, everything has to be done exactly right, including gently swirling it just so. Otherwise, the vaccine may not work. Here's why.
Whatever the active ingredient in there is suspended in an agent. So in this case, it's suspended within what's called lipid nanoparticles.
Basically, little fat globules. In the Moderna and Pfizer-BioNTech vaccines, these nanoparticles cushion and protect messenger RNA, or mRNA. This molecule carries the instructions that the body will use to build a defense against COVID-19.
If we shake it, unfortunately, the manufacturer indicates that it may break down that lipid structure.
That can expose and eventually destroy the mRNA. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine uses DNA that's encased within an inactivated virus. But too much movement could mean a dose drawn from the vaccine vials won't carry enough of the mRNA or DNA to help you build sufficient immunity.
It may not get into your cells like it should.
Any mishaps can reduce the vaccine's potency, and every dose counts as providers race against new variants to curb the pandemic and achieve herd immunity.
We need roughly 75% or greater people to be immune.
Proper handling of the vaccine is just one of the details needed to successfully vaccinate as many people as possible.
It's a great art and science of managing this vaccine.
Each of the 3 emergency-approved vaccines have different storage and handling requirements, which require close monitoring.
The colder the temperature, the more stable they are. And that once we get to higher temperatures, there's less stability.
The Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine needs an ultra-cold freezer and then must thaw in a fridge where it's good for up to 5 days. The Moderna vaccine doesn't need such extreme cold and can last in a standard fridge for up to 30 days. Johnson & Johnson vaccine can last up to 3 months in the refrigerator. The temperatures need to be carefully monitored to ensure vaccines stay within the range that manufacturers prescribe.
It's hooked up to our Wi-Fi and it'll send us a message whenever or if we have, hopefully it doesn't happen, but if the unit goes out of range, then we're notified immediately.
The specifics are based on how the manufacturers decided to test their products. Pfizer-BioNTech initially tested its vaccine using extremely low temperatures, but further testing showed it remained viable stored under slightly warmer conditions for a set period of time. And even though the Johnson & Johnson vaccine arrives frozen, its guidelines direct vaccinators to store it in a refrigerator. Once a vial of any of the 3 vaccines is opened for dosing, though, the clock starts ticking on how long it'll last.
You're constantly looking at how much needs to go in the refrigerator, how much do we pull out and put into the room, how long has it been in the room, how long has it been open since you took out the first dose.
It's almost as though you were dealing with chocolate. And if you have chocolate, you know that if you get to a certain temperature, it's going to melt. And so if you encapsulate that chocolate in a coating, let's just say like an M&M, then you can maintain it for a longer period of time.
Some vaccine coordinators work solely to monitor proper handling of the vials, which, like other vaccines, must not be directly exposed to sunlight. But it's unclear exactly how much sunlight, warmth, or movement is too much.
We know that sunlight and just and light from rooms can actually interfere with the integrity of the product.
Yeah, there's a lot of things within medicine and pharmacy that don't have exact parameters around them. And so what we do is the best we can to mitigate any potential loss.
Required training for anyone handling the vaccine minimizes that risk, and providers must take prompt action if transport or storage temperatures ever go out of range.
So immediately we're going to put it in the freezer because we don't want to be responsible for further degradation of that vaccine, just in case. And then we would notify the manufacturer, and then we would notify the county that we had gotten a batch that had come that was not good, so that they can follow up on that from their end as well.
But it's unlikely any major mishandling that would compromise the vaccine would go unnoticed by a provider. And vaccines often have ample supply of the active ingredient that creates the immune response. So any minor slip-ups likely would not reduce their effectiveness. But careful handling is necessary to reach herd immunity as quickly as possible.
California is offering cash incentives for getting the COVID-19 vaccine. Marielle Concepcion tells us about some of the other giveaways in the Friday Business Report.
CVS now is offering things like cruises, concert tickets, Super Bowl trips, and other prizes to eligible customers, meaning those that go to a CVS pharmacy to get their coronavirus vaccination. The name of the sweepstake is #OneStepCloser, which is very appropriate. It launches June 1st, and winners are going to be selected on a weekly basis, according to a press release. In partnership with the White House, companies like Uber and Lyft have been offering free rides to anyone that needs to get to a vaccination site. And specifically in the state of California, Governor Gavin Newsom announced that beginning May 27th, anyone that begins and completes their vaccination cycle is automatically eligible for a $50 prepaid grocery card or just a prepaid gift card. Other major companies like Krispy Kreme, Shake Shack, and The Vitamin Shop are offering freebies to anyone that can show proof of vaccination at any of their locations throughout the country.
Some good news for campers and staffers this summer. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says those attending or working at summer camps who are fully vaccinated won't need to wear masks. Right now, children aged 12 and over can get Pfizer's vaccine. The CDC has previously said people who are fully vaccinated do not need to routinely test for COVID-19 unless they are experiencing symptoms. Memorial Day weekend used to kick off the summer movie season in the U.S. before summer movies began opening earlier and earlier. But this weekend might be a return to form. David Daniel has that and more in the Hollywood Minute.
Theater owners are hoping A Quiet Place Part 2 has a loud impact. Some 70% of U.S. theaters have reopened, according to the analytics firm ComScore, and this weekend's debuts of Quiet Place 2 and Disney's Cruella could fuel the biggest weekend box office total since March of 2020.
Welcome to Minos Escape Rooms.
No.
It's happening again.
You guys have played the game before?
So what is this? Like a tournament of champions?
Exactly. Here's your first look at Escape Room Tournament of Champions, the sequel to the 2019 psychological horror film. Once again, 6 people are locked in a series of escape rooms trying to survive by solving various puzzles. Escape Room Tournament of Champions arrives in theaters July 16th. If you're looking for a new Night Ranger album, you're in luck. The Hard Rockers are releasing their first studio album in 4 years. It's called ATBPO, which stands for And the Band Played On, a reference to making music during the COVID-19 era. It's available on CD and vinyl August 6th. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.